first want to say I'm humbled to have heard the different stories from all of you who have found the need for legal aid to resolve your problems. I've been looking around the audience. I can't see a government minister. Is there a government minister here? Why not? We're here to celebrate one of the greatest achievements of this country. In 1949, in far worse economic circumstances than today, the government found the money to fund legal aid and assistance. And it's an important part of the welfare state, and I don't understand why any government of any persuasion isn't prepared to stand up and shout from the rooftops, hooray for legal aid! It's really important for all of us. Only last week, Archbishop Sentamu wrote an article in one of the Sunday papers about the fact that the government spends £4 billion of your taxpayers' money every year in subsidising the slave wages of bosses like the company, the owner of whom also owns Newcastle United Football Club, who pay such poor wages that even this tight-fisted government feel the need to subsidise with your taxpayers' money to the tune of £4 billion every year. Now, even on the government's lying figures, that is at least twice the total spent on the entire legal aid system, criminal, legal and civil legal aid. And yet that is being given to bosses who are quite happy to pay themselves vast salaries and bonuses and God knows what, whilst keeping people in conditions effectively of slave labour. That same company, Sports Direct I think it's called, apparently employed 20,000 staff on these 0 hours contracts. So from 1 week to the next, you've no idea how many hours you're going to work, you've no idea how much money you're going to earn, you get no sickness benefit, no holiday pay, nothing. It's the equivalent of slave labour, and how they get away with it is frankly a disgrace. No one should be under any illusion that the attack on legal aid as part of this government's attack on the welfare system is ideologically motivated. The money is there. They can tax the rich, they can tax these companies like Google and Amazon and all the rest of them who are happy to take our money for their goods but don't want to pay the tax that we all need to fund the services that we all need. The money is there. It's a question of whether you want to spend it on poor people. And of course, when you've got a government stuffed full of millionaires, the answer is entirely obvious. But all of you here today, all of you who work with people who have the sort of social welfare problems that we have been hearing about today, should feel really proud of the achievement that we can all contribute to because of legal aid. Those of you who work with housing cases, think how many people you have saved from eviction. Think how many people you have got redressed because some local authority or some slum landlord has had them living in disgusting conditions that you wouldn't want to keep a dog in, let alone a family with young kids. And because of legal aid, you were able to get redress for them. What about asylum seekers? We've heard about today. People who don't come here because we're a soft touch on benefits. They come here because they are desperate, because their lives are in danger. And if the government get their way and deport them, they face the risk of torture, of mistreatment, and worse than that, death. And if you have been involved in those sorts of cases and you've stopped one person being deported by the government back to that sort of future, you should feel very proud. And the reason you can, because of legal aid. Those of you who work on behalf of prisoners, that much derided group that people like Chris Grayling absolutely spit feathers over, so that he came up with some ridiculous story about prisoners wanting judicial review because they want to change their cell to a more comfortable one. What he doesn't tell you is they had to use things like legal aid to fight for the right to vote, to fight for the right to be transferred to a prison where they can get the sort of courses they need to do if they're ever going to get released. They never tell you about that sort of work that is a very important part of judicial review. Today, we've heard already about the decision in the High Court in relation to discrimination against the disabled and the bedroom tax. And it's obviously a great disappointment that the first round has been lost, but that's not the end of the campaign by any means. There will undoubtedly be an appeal, and it's absolutely right that people should have the opportunity to challenge decisions of government, whether it's national or local. and go to the courts to seek redress about that. And then there's criminal law, which is the area that I've specialised in for over 35 years now. And you've already heard from people today, like Chris, who didn't go to prison because he was able to get good quality legal advice and assistance. Where from? Courtesy of legal aid. And there are countless cases. Robert's mentioned some of them earlier on today. But for every one of those really big cases that we can all run off, and they've always got a number after them, the Birmingham 6, the Guildford 4, and so on, there are every day people being acquitted of serious crime, not because they got away with it, but because on the evidence there was insufficient evidence to make a jury of ordinary citizens sure of their guilt. That's the sort of standard you would expect if you were in their sort of position. And every day, because of legal aid, there are lawyers who have the skill and ability to win cases like that. So none of us should be in any doubt about the fantastic value of legal aid, and we should be proud of the work we do. None of us are fat cats. That's just a slander from the government. Their own figures show that they know that that's a complete lie. But they don't want to tell the truth. They don't want to say that most of the barristers doing criminal legal aid are getting by on 20 or 30,000 a year. They don't want that. They want to talk about fat cat lawyers earning millions, because that suits their agenda. But what do we do now? The song says, "Will you still need me when I'm 64? And we have had clear proof today, haven't we, that we have all needed legal aid up until the age of 64. But will legal aid be around to celebrate 65 or 70 or 100 in the years to come? That has to be a real doubt, because this government would love to be able to get rid of it. You notice whenever an MP or a minister gets arrested, they don't turn up at Robert Lazar's office. They do go to fat cat lawyers who charge thousands of pounds for their cases. They don't care about legal aid. And if we are to make sure that the people we represent can get access to good quality legal advice and assistance in the future, we have to be prepared to stand up and fight. And that's why I salute all of you who've taken the time today to come here, wherever you've come from, whatever campaigns you're involved in. It's fantastic to see you all here, and I know that you will pledge to fight alongside people like Pete Weatherby and myself and other lawyers who are here today, and Robert and the rest of us. Will keep on fighting to ensure that future generations can also turn to a good quality legal aid lawyer to help them out when they need legal assistance. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark, for that. And just before we wrap this up,